Hey, shalom, everybody. Kum yashala. Yabashim yashabaraka thumb. Hold on, let's clean this camera. Much better. Much better. Nah, not me. Not me. All right. We're going to start the clubhouse room now. Okay. Tonight's class is very important if you call yourself a Bible believer. Tonight's class is very important if you call yourself a Bible believer.
That's right.
You need to learn the origins of the text that you hold sacred and where it comes from. These classes are monopolized by the heathen.
Mm-hmm.
These classes are monopolized by the other nations. But as Hebrew Israelites, we do not have a class on this that we can refer to from our own people. So we did the work for you so that you can learn it. Okay? So we're just going to let the room fill up a little bit. And we're going to talk about when you get serious about biblical studies, when you get serious about debating the scriptures, when you get serious about standing on a historical document, you need to know where it's from.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And that is textual criticism. And you can't do textual criticism on the whole Bible. It's broken into portions. It's the Old Testament and the New Testament and the Apocrypha. Tonight, we're going to talk about textual criticism of the New Testament. Okay?
That's right.
Hopefully, this is useful to you in your development and growth as a Bible student. All right? This is the next step as a Bible student. So we're just going to let the room fill up. All right? We're going to welcome our brothers to the stages that wish to participate. We live, okay? We're live right now on YouTube, on conference call that's scrolling at the bottom, and also on Clubhouse, the Clubhouse application. And as the night presses on, I'm sure people will have questions and want to interact with us, and you're definitely welcome to do that, all right? But this is the next step, right? The next step in your development as an expert on the Bible that you hold in your hand. You must understand how and why it was translated. We have brothers, okay? I'm on Twitter, and I love all my brothers in Israel. We got brothers on Twitter teaching for doctrine that the Strong's is wicked.
Yeah.
Not to use it, and it don't matter if you use it, and being nice with the Strong's does not make you a scholar. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
The definition that they spoke from was a Wikipedia definition, and it was a portion of it. Okay. I love brothers, but you trying to get away from the language is not beneficial to building the faith of a neo-Christian. What is a neo-Christian? Someone that's intelligent. They're not easily swayed. The rudiments of this world has filled their minds. They got smartphones in their hands. They're tired of being misled and lied to. And if you're going to teach them something, they want to understand the reality of it. Well, you need the Strongs for that. You need the language for that.
Yes, you do.
And you need the history for that. So we're going to put our brick in and try to enrich the nation by sharing this information. All right. If you believe in the Sons of Thunder and you want to help us with our ministry, you can send donations, Super Chat, CashApp, whatever. If you want us to get all the money, send it through CashApp, because Super Chat take 40% of it.
Right.
All right. But that's not why we teach. We don't make merchandise of the people.
God.
We teaching this because we believe in this.
That's right.
And it's necessary for your growth and development as an Israelite, especially for a lot of brothers is popping out the gate. You want to be teaching.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of brothers is popping out the gate. You establishing things and you want to go do it. Yo, you need to be able to defend what you believe.
That's right.
I debate Muslim friends often. They are not stupid people.
Mm-hmm.
See, what happens is us as Hebrew Israelites, when somebody comes to us with another doctrine, we start to get arrogant and we start to write them off as stupid people.
They're bugged out.
They're just dummies. Yo, these people are intelligent and they have a brain that works.
Right.
And they will disagree with your text. And if you're in the arena of debate or bold enough to reason with somebody,
You gotta be able to do it.
you better know what you're talking about. A Jehovah's Witness, priest about taught us, a Jehovah's Witness will cut you and make you look simple. And I would say they're probably the worst when it comes to academics of all Christians. But if you don't know what you're talking about, he put you to shame. The scriptures tell us if you do not know an answer, put a hand upon your mouth. It's certain things brothers cannot talk about if you are not versed in textual criticism, if you're not versed in the language. I was telling my captain upstairs, I said, yo, there's not much more time we're going to get away with not knowing Arabic. As much as we debate the Quran and we have strong positions and we are knowledgeable in the English translation of the Quran and the Hadith, Tafsir, etc., we can defend the truth against scoffing Muslims very well and confound them, but they're not sophisticated. When you go up against a sophisticated Muslim, you're going to need to know some Arabic, friend. Just like when unsophisticated Christians go up against us and we break them down with the Hebrew.
Yeah.
We don't get to escape that. We're going to need to know some Greek. When a Trinitarian starts speaking John 1:1 totally in Greek and breaking down nominative cases, you need to understand that, or you don't need to be debating that person.
Right.
Am I teaching this to help you go argue with people? No, it is for your enrichment and development. All right. I have the privilege of being surrounded by tons of knowledgeable brothers, and especially on the clubhouse, I get to talk to them often, and I get to be a part of many godly discourses, and it's built me up, right? But I want to give it back and pay it forward to the nation. And y'all need to learn the history of your King James Bible. What will you say if somebody comes up and says, why do you use the King James? It's flawed. You need to use the NIV. All scholars will tell you the NIV is superior. The new revised standard version is superior. Do you know what to say? Or are you going to become how our Christian friends become, and you just become a fan of what you believe, and now you're arguing for no reason because you don't know what you're talking about? We would never leave you naked like that, all right? And the brothers on stage with me would never do nothing like that, okay? We're gonna teach you as good as we possibly can, and we're gonna be patient. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Malachi is laughing. What happened?
Nothing.
Okay, I see people with their hands raised. I'm trying to bring you up. All right. I see people with their hands raised. I'm trying to bring you up. All right. Yeah, well, you got to change your picture. You still got a gray shirt on. All right. Let me change your picture. Okay. So now, textual criticism. I've compiled a ton of information. Get your pens and your pads. Us as Hebrew Israelites, of the disciples of what you would say One West. A lot of people don't know what one. These Christians or these apologetics will say One West 30 times and don't know what it is. Don't know what the classroom looked like. Don't know the names of the teachers. If they know the names of the teachers, an Israelite gave them that information. But they never heard none of those teachers teach. Right? Hebrew Israelites of the school of One West thought, right? Who taught us how to approach camp, who taught us how to proselytize and how to go through the scriptures line upon line and make sense of the doctrine. That we didn't learn that in the Jehovah's Witness church. We didn't learn that in the Baptist church. New Mount Zion, Goshen, Apostolic. We didn't learn that there. We learned how to teach this style from our elders who come from that level of training. All right, brothers waking up 8 o'clock in the morning, doing military training, physical, mind, body, and soul. All right, and looking after their own people. We learned this style of teaching from that school, and that style of teaching uses the King James Bible. That style of teaching uses the King James Bible. Our style of teaching uses the King James Bible. And someone to tell you why. Why would you use the King James Bible? For what? The King James was a homosexual. Priest Daniel Allah taught a magnificent lesson last Saturday morning of how to deal with scoffs against King James as a person by actually teaching the history of King James as a man, his home life, and rhetoric surrounding him. But somebody got to teach it to you. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what class is for. So right now, y'all are on class. Okay. All right. This is class. Make sure y'all questions are sincere. And if you're gonna disagree, guess what? We welcome that. It's not, we're not locking the doors of the classroom and it becomes an echo chamber. But let's be reasonable and let's be gentlemen about all things, right? I watched the verses last night, and I'm watching brothers with a lot of talent on stage carrying on like buffoons, man. Cursing out the mouth, acting like low dirtbag Negroes because they're trying to portray a persona. So they've ruined their own victory lap, because that's what verses is. It's a victory lap. It's a chance for you to be acknowledged for who you are and your contribution to the music industry, right? And brothers is too busy trying to be thugged out and cool. They're humiliating themselves. They're not even realizing it, and it's a bad show. That's not going to go down in history. Why? Because brothers don't conduct like gentlemen, like they have any wisdom or like they have any prestige. So if you come to the stage, even if you disagree, I beg you, please conduct yourself like a gentleman. All right. Some people had to leave. They ain't like that because they wanted to be Negroes on the stage. Nah, we're not doing that. Right. This is educational, textual criticism of your New Testament. I want to talk to you about a couple concepts. All right. I want to talk to you about a couple concepts. Okay. The Strong's is not supposed to be used to derive doctrine. The Strong's is supposed to be used to define Hebrew and Greek words.
Right.
That's the purpose of it.
Right.
Or catalog.
And it shows you all the places that this word appears. It is the burden is on you to read with understanding and learn the context in each place.
Right.
The Hebrew language doesn't work like English. The Greek language is close, but not the same. So now you have to understand through translation and through cultural gaps to make sense of things, right? But you don't throw away the Strong's. You need that. Now, somebody will come to you and say, why would you use the Strong's when a white man, James Strong, did that work? And I would say, you sound like a buffoon, okay? You sound like a simpleton. A black man invented the filament that goes into the light bulb. Did the white man say, throw this idea away because a Negro invented the filament? We're going to make something brand new because we're not using nothing that them people started with. No, they're not doing that. They're going to take your idea, thank you, and we're going to build on that. So thank you, James Strong's, because while we was in slavery getting our backs kicked in, you had time to play around with all these languages and catalog all these words. Very good. Now I'm going to take the work you did and I'm going to build on it in the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba, Shema Mashiach Yahweh Shah.
Right.
And if you can't understand that, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
And if anybody disagree with what I'm saying, please feel free to unmute and let's talk about it. But if you can't understand that, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
A black man invented the damn cell phone,
Right.
air conditioner, refrigerator, the refrigerator,
Stoplight.
the stoplight. Did the white man say because a black man invented that, we're going to delete his idea? And we're going to make a whole new, no, we're going to just take that and patent it and take the credit for it.
Yeah.
So what y'all are doing, that's a very childish argument to say, why would you use the Strong's when the white man is the devil, but the white man did all that work? Thank you. He did that work. I'm not going to do the work again. He did it already.
Right.
Very good. But I'm going to come in with understanding of the scriptures that he doesn't have.
Right.
So now I can use his cataloging system to find words that I'm looking for that has the meaning, but I'm going to use the Most High and faith in Yahweh Shai and give the proper sense, something that he cannot do.
Right.
All right. If you can't understand that, then, I'll take the bullets for you not liking me, but I'm not going to care much. I think that makes a lot of sense, what I just said. We're not going to throw away the filament because the black man invented it. We just going to make the light bulb using the work that he already did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to establish the proper understanding using the work that James Strong already did. And that's going to go with many things as we go through the history of your New Testament.
Right.
This is just an introduction. I'm not here to give you a 4-hour lesson. We're not doing that. But what I'm giving you, if you sincere, can take notes and then go forward with this to a new level, doing all the research you wish you want to do. All right, you wish to do rather. Okay. So with that, we're just going to give a couple more seconds for the room to fill up. If any brothers on stage want to say anything, you have the floor right now.
Shalom, everybody on the YouTube.
Say shalom.
Shalom, Marwan.
He didn't hear you. Say that again. Say shalom again.
Shalom, Marwan. Shalom to all the Akim on the stage and everybody in the audience. Shalom to everybody on the YouTube and everybody on the call.
Shalom.
Everybody that's on the YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button to help us out with the algorithm, and share the live. And if you're on the Clubhouse, share the room.
Call me Inshallah. I'm just setting a setting on the YouTube, and the class can begin. All right.
Shalom, Madawan, Akim,
Shalom. All right. YouTube, they don't want to share that ad revenue no more. When we making great content for our people, they trying to block it, man. Deacon of Sakari made a great video that y'all need to watch so that y'all channels can continue to thrive and prosper. I had a brother DM me on Instagram saying, "Why are you talking financial literacy? The Lord is gonna blow this place up." I said, but we still got to live in it. Yeah, but why are you telling people that they work on their financial literacy? The Most High don't give a damn about that. I'm like, brother, if I can help a mother with 3 kids have an easier burden by helping her with her finances, I'm going to do that.
Right.
We got to think differently when we approach this truth, man. That's why I like to surround myself with brothers with the temperament and attitude like that. You see them all around. You see them on stage right now. Priest Daniel Allah, I just mentioned him earlier for his great class teaching about King James. Priest Daniel Allah, can you tell the people the name of that YouTube video from last Saturday?
Shalom to the family. To everybody that's listening. I did a video last Sabbath, and the name of the video was a 2-part video. The name of the video is called Debunking the Myths About King James and the King James Bible. And I kind of just touched on a few common myths. I didn't get a chance to finish it. I'll probably do part 2 tomorrow, get into a little bit more. But that's pretty much it.
What YouTube channel is that one?
Name of the channel is called Lions of Israel Class. Lions of Israel Class. If you would put that in the search, it should come up.
All right. I learned a lot from that video. All right. This is the kind of education that we kind of skip. We really like them camp videos where, you know, the demons is out there yelling and fighting and spitting and cursing and people getting cut. Woo.
Yeah, right.
But the real videos you need to watch is the ones that teach you the deep things about what you believe in.
Yeah. Right.
Them the videos that you're supposed to cleave to, man. And I search for them often, and I hope this video becomes one. Now, and again, everybody that's on stage, you're welcome to contribute as much as you like. One criticism you will have of your Bible is really just an alternate account. A lot of people do not know how to look at the so-called New Testament, right? Yeah. Your Muslim friends will tell you, why does Matthew say it this way? Why does Mark say it this way? And why does John say it this way? And why does Luke not even have that account?
Paper thin doctrine.
That's a paper thin doctrine. If Matthew read the same way as Mark, you would have 2 books of Matthew. If Matthew said the same thing as Mark, you would have 2 books of Mark. That's not the case. The Gospels, 3 are synoptic. The Gospels are accounts from different vantage points.
Right.
For instance, you could be accused of a contradiction when the contradiction accusation is false in its nature.
Mm-hmm.
When they say, why does one writer say that Judas hung himself and another writer says that he jumped off a cliff and burst on the stones? That's a contradiction. False. That's not a contradiction.
It's like they don't know what contradiction.
They don't know what a contradiction is. That's not a contradiction. That's an alternate account.
Right.
The example I'm going to give you is very simple, like this. Both accounts say he betrayed Christ. Both accounts say how much he did it for.
Yeah.
Both accounts say he was ashamed of what he'd done.
Mhm.
Both accounts say he killed himself after. The difference in the accounts is how he died.
Right.
How he died does not change the fact that Judas is the man of the 12 disciples who betrayed Christ for 30 pieces of silver.
Right.
That stayed the same in both accounts.
Right.
But how he died, the vantage point is different from one witness to the next.
Right.
That's not a contradiction. That's this. We in a court of law. I seen y'all were all teaching a textual criticism class on June 25th at 9:19 p.m. And somebody else says, I saw him teaching a textual criticism class on June 24th at 9 p.m. Something remains the same.
Right.
Y'all will all exist.
Yep.
Mhm.
Y'all were all taught a textual criticism class on the Sabbath.
Mhm.
But one account says it was on this day. Another account says it was on that day. The facts didn't change.
Nope.
Just the vantage point of who reported it. That's not a contradiction. That's an alternate account, right?
Right.
Candace G, post hers. Christ being hung on a tree versus him being nailed to a cross. Is that a contradiction?
Nuh-uh.
No, because Christ died and was crucified
Right.
in both accounts. One guy said they're nailing him to a cross. Another guy said they hung him from a tree. Cross is made of wood.
Right.
It's an alternate account, but the facts remain the same. To make it a contradiction, one person would have to say Christ was nailed to the cross, but he came down and did not die.
Right.
And another person said Christ was hung on a tree, but he died up there.
Right.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Now we have a contradiction.
Right.
One person's, the facts changed.
Right.
In one account, he dies, and in another account, he does not die.
Right.
The details surrounding the account are destined to change because people have different vantage points.
Mhm.
Don't let a Muslim do that to you. Go ahead and take that off the screen. Don't let a Muslim do that to you. That's not a contradiction. That's an alternate account from a different vantage point. And that's what the Gospels are. Okay? You have these letters or epistles or writings or scriptures, whatever you want to call them, right? And they're written from different vantage points by different authors, cataloging the same events. The details surrounding those events are destined to change because somebody else is scribing it. All right. The Bible never makes the claim that all the writers saw the same thing at the same time.
Right.
All right. We got to understand and acknowledge this. Okay. For instance, when you look at 1 Samuel 17:4, get that. 1 Samuel 17:4.
Khan, it's the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17 and verse 4.
Read.
It reads, "And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span."
Now that translates to 10 feet 9 inches or 9 feet 9 inches, right? Masoretic text reported like that. But then when you see in the Septuagint and Josephus, they say he was 4 cubits in a span. Somebody gonna say that's a contradiction. No, a champion came out from the Philistines named Goliath, and he was killed by David.
Right.
All accounts record that.
Right.
But one telling says his height was different than another person. That happens all the time. That's an alternate telling, an alternate account from a different vantage point. That's not a contradiction.
Right.
To make it a contradiction, there was no champion
Right.
named Goliath
Right.
who David
kill
fought. And David did not kill him. Now we got to question everything.
Right.
But you questioning the details. It was cloudy. No, it was sunny. Bro, did what happened that day happen?
Right.
Yes or no?
God.
That's what we trying to get you out of
Right.
as we move through this. You got to mature past that kind of scoff. That's low level. You got to mature past that. All right. One thing you got to learn about your gospels in the New Testament. They attribute Matthew to Levi, a brother named Levi. Mark, they say that's John Mark. John, they say that's the son of Zebedee. And Luke is one of Paul's disciples. However, you must notice before Papias of Hierapolis, The Gospels did not have names. They were anonymous. That doesn't mean they didn't exist. Listen, the Gospels did not have names before Papias at Hierapolis, okay? They did not have names. But that doesn't mean that those Gospels didn't exist. Right. They were just anonymous, okay? When you get the Gospel according to Matthew, that comes after 130 AD, all right? Somebody's going to say, that's a problem. Think for a second. How can I tell you to turn to Matthew 23:1?
Can't.
I can't if you do not name this gospel so that I can source it and catalog it. That's why they added chapters and verses. Mm-hmm. Adding a name is very useful. It has no theological weight whether Matthew verbatim was the author of the gospel according to Matthew at all, because that gospel was in the earth for a long time, translated multiple manuscripts across languages for a long time before they gave them names. Right. It's okay. They were copied and passed. Giving them names is valuable. Yeah. Now I can turn to Matthew 15. Now I can turn to Matthew 5. Now I can turn to Matthew 1 because I can find it now because that gospel now has a name. Yep. Don't let anybody try to make you feel or shake your faith. Who's Matthew? You can't prove that Matthew was written by Matthew. That's not the point of the book of Matthew. The book of Matthew, the point is not Matthew wrote that. And only Matthew could see it. It's not about that. The book of Matthew is about these events that surrounded a biblical figure named, you call him Jesus Christ, we call him Yahushua. Right. And the events recorded are corroborated across gospels and across time. Okay? Don't let that shake you. That's why I'm telling you that information. We're going to move on a little bit. Okay?
You want the example of in Kings and Chronicles?
Can you teach it?
Yeah.
All right. Would your voice go ahead? Explain.
Let me get the accounts first. Yeah, I think it's Second Chronicles 36.
Talking about
the king that was 18.
Verse 11.
What does it say?
That's talking about Zedekiah.
No, that's
if you have it ready, teach it. If not, can we move on?
We can move. I don't have it.
All right. Look it up in your phone. Now we're going to move on. Okay. Now, when it comes to New Testament manuscripts, we possess about 5,800 of them. That's 5,800 Greek manuscripts. And they predate the printing press. You know what that means? Human beings copied this with their hands.
Right.
5,800 copies we possess and have found and been able to possess. Not to mention how many are destroyed and gone forever. Okay? They are broken into groups, these manuscripts of your New Testament. Okay? Number one, these are things I have to admit to you to be fair. Number one, we do not have the autographs of these manuscripts. Uh-oh, here come your Egyptologists, right? You don't have the autographs. That means you don't have the original. No one has the autograph of anything from antiquity. Oh, wait, there's more. All of you believe in Plato and Homer. All of you. All of you believe in Pythagoras. All of you. We don't have the autograph of anything that they wrote. Right. All we have is copies of what they wrote. But you would never argue and say Plato and Homer never existed. Right. You would never do that. No. But with the Bible, you want to play that game. Mm-hmm. You know why? Because you have no faith. And that's your point of view. But it is not academic. The greatest text that we have from antiquity, and the Quran is not from antiquity. That's a medieval text. Right. Late medieval. Okay. I almost call it modern. The Quran is not from antiquity. The greatest text you have from antiquity, guess what? It's the book of John. That's right. The book of John is the most plentiful manuscript, the The book of John is the most plentiful manuscript that you have from antiquity, with the most pristine amount of agreeable copies, meaning you possess a lot of them and they agree.
Yep.
Guess what? Not Homer's writings, not Plato's writings, but the book of John. Something for you to think about. Okay. You got
Hey,
it.
yo,
Go ahead, Adawan.
real quick, just to land back on what you're saying, like 10 seconds. We read in the Gospels that Christ went into the temple and read from the book of Isaiah. That was not the autograph he was reading from. It was a copy, because that temple didn't have the autograph. It was a copy, and it was good enough for the Messiah. So copies should be good enough for us as well. It really shouldn't be that difficult. I yield. That's all.
That's a great point, right?
Yeah.
Christ read a copy.
Right, that's a great point.
He didn't have the one that Isaiah wrote himself,
Right.
but it was good enough for Yahushua.
Good
Right,
enough.
right.
That's a great, excellent point, right? So you have 4 groups of manuscripts. Listen, everyone. 4 groups of manuscripts. I want you to write this in the chat. You have the Byzantine, that's Byzant, Byzantine, right? The Byzantine manuscript tradition, INE.
Byzantine what?
Then you have the Alexandrian tradition. You have the Caesarian, Caesar, like Caesar. No, take the Z off. Caesar. Caesarian tradition, and then lastly you have the Western tradition, right? What are these traditions? These are styles of manuscripts. Styles of manuscripts. Some of them written in all capitals. Some of them written with no punctuation. Some of them written in all lowercase. Some of them written with punctuation, right? Those are styles of manuscripts, okay? Nobody put a date on these manuscripts. Be broken into traditions because we have to figure out who was writing what, when, and why, okay? It's a science called paleography. Where looking at how the writing is done, you could deduce the age of the text, right? I wanted to share that with y'all. Everything I'm saying, you can pause the video and go look it up, okay? I'm not here to teach you a lesson on everything I'm saying. I'm teaching you a lesson to introduce you to textual criticism, all right? Let me say that again. Your King James Bible comes from the Byzantine tradition, all right? How so? Erasmus in 1516 took 6 manuscripts, 5 from the Byzantine, and then a codex called Bizet. He used that also. And a codex is just a complete book, handwritten. So for it to be a codex, it has to be complete. If it's just a sheet, it'll be called a papyrus or a fragment, all right? It'll have P after it. But if it's called a codex, that means it's a complete book. This is important information. I hope y'all adding this to y'all quickly. All right. Erasmus took 5 Byzantine manuscripts and the Codex Bizet, and he made something called the Textus Receptus, the received text. Right. From that, you get the Geneva Bible and you get your King James Bible. So the King James Bible is based primarily on the Byzantine tradition. And I'm going to tell you the difference between the Byzantine and the Alexandrian traditions in a little while. But you need this information, this introductory information, so that you can enter the conversation and even begin to study. Like nobody's teaching us this, right? We trying to learn who are the Elohim, right? Like this brother is typing in the chat. He don't care what I'm saying. But this is very beneficial information. Him who hath ears, let him hear. All right. Now, in the 1800s, people began to say, look, the Byzantine tradition, which is the received text, or the what's the word I'm looking for? Not the multitude text, the majority text, because there's the most manuscripts are Byzantine that we have. Right. People started to say, yeah, you got a lot of these, but they're not the oldest. Now, wait for 1 second. Just because something is older does not make it right.
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 All right. Mesopotamia is very old, and what they was teaching is fables and myths. Just because something is older does not make it right. But people began to be of this school of thought. Well, we found older manuscripts and they differ, so they have to be right because they're older. I'm gonna tell you why that's a weak argument. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen with you. I'm gonna tell you why that's a weak argument. Okay, give me 1 second. I want to show on the YouTube. If you're on the YouTube, you can see this. I just want to show you something on the YouTube, right? And we're just going to talk for a second. Okay. Hold on, let me because this is a new laptop. If y'all remember, my house got disrespected. I had to get a new laptop, so I got to set some permissions to allow certain things. Okay. All right. Hopefully this works.
Shit.
Can y'all see that? Oh, I have to quit Chrome and reopen it. I didn't foresee that. I don't want to do that while the class is running. All right, this was just extra. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry, y'all. What I'll do is at the end of the class, we'll post it on YouTube as a post, so you can like see it in the YouTube feed. But it's not really necessary for the lesson. It was just a visual aid. What happened?
Can we put it in chat as a link? Can you click it?
No, it's not a link. It's on my desktop. All right.
It's
So
on your desktop. You should be able to.
I can't. I have
do
to
it
quit.
without Chrome.
I have to quit Chrome and reopen it for the screen to be able to be shared. Right. And I don't want to. Yeah, and I don't want to quit the lesson. So now, people began to say, since we found some Alexandrian papyri, right? Because they didn't have the Vaticanus and the Sinaiticus yet. It wasn't until 1859 that a dude named Tischendorf, he found the Sinaiticus. It's convenient. He found the Sinaiticus about 350. It's supposed to be from 350 AD. And then the Vatican was like, oh, we found a codex in our library of the Bible. And it's ancient. It's from 300 AD. That's the Codex Vaticanus, right? Mm-hmm. And when you look at them, they agreed. They had a lot of variants, but as far as the canon, the books that were there, and the tellings, they agreed. They had a lot of issues with verse order, word placement, but overall, these two agreed, the Sinaiticus and the Vaticanus, right? These are codices, complete Bibles, very old. People began to say, well, look, man, these things are older than your Byzantine manuscripts. So they must be right, and we want to follow these. And that's where your Catholic Bibles come from. That's where your NIV comes from. That's where your ESV and your NASB comes from, all right? And there's some major differences between your King James and those Bibles, right? Some major differences. What's up,
Salakia. So just for edification of the people, a lot of people associate the KJV with the Catholic Bible. So there are
we experienced that yesterday.
Yeah, what are those major differences between the KJV and the Catholic Bible?
We're about to go into it.
Okay.
I got it for you.
Okay.
All right. We're going to examine some differences between Alexandrian manuscripts and Byzantine manuscripts. And I'm going to make a very profound point so that people who criticize your faith and belief have nothing to stand on. All right. A very profound point. Turn to John chapter 5 and verse 3. Right now, I want you to pull it up in the ESV, and we're going to read it side by side with your KJV. John 5, 3 through 4. All right. Who's getting the ESV?
I got it.
I got the KJV.
Okay. Read it in the ESV.
Now it's the book of John, chapter 5, and verse 3. In these lay a multitude of
impotent.
Mine says something different. Invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed.
Invalids.
Read
it again. Read it smooth, please, for the people, man.
It's the book of John, chapter 5, and verse 3. In these lay a multitude of invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man was there who had been an invalid for 38 years.
Did you see that in your King James Bible? Read on.
When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up."
What is missing? What was not read? Verse 4.
The
Now
angel.
read it in the King James now.
This is John chapter 5 and verse 3.
Read.
In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first after the troubling of the water stepped in was made whole of whatsoever disease he had.
Did the ESV contain that?
No.
These are the differences in your manuscripts that your Bibles are based on. Your ESV is based on Alexandrian manuscripts. Your King James is based on Byzantine manuscripts. Your Byzantine manuscripts reads differently than the Alexandrian manuscripts. But herein lies the issue. Did that difference matter theologically?
No, it did not.
No.
You have opinion?
Did the difference of this verse?
Yes.
Yeah.
It
does.
mattered?
Yeah.
Explain.
It matters because in the ESV, it didn't explain that the angel troubled the water, but in the KJV, it explains why they would be healed.
So now what do you have? You have a theological difference or a why?
A why?
Are people still getting healed in that water?
Yeah.
Is Christ there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did it happen
It happened.
according to both accounts?
It happened.
So the extra detail, does that change
No, it's still-
the
no.
theology of the scripture? Did it say that Satan was doing the healing? It's still coming from God, etc., which Christ already taught us, right?
Right.
These are the things you have to be able to feel when people challenging, why is your Bible different from his Bible? A lot of times they don't understand the differences, and the differences are inconsequential to the doctrine of God. Right? Go to Matthew 16 and 2, and let's do the same thing. Read Matthew 16 and 2 in the ESV, and then read Matthew 16 and 2 in the King James. Who's got the ESV?
I got it right. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 16 and verse 2.
Go ahead.
He answered them, "When it is evening, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be stormy today, for the sky is red and threatening. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times.
Read on.
An evil and adulterous generation seeks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah."
Now read it in the King James.
Matthew 16 and 2. He answered and said unto them, when it is evening, ye say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites.
That wasn't in the prior. Christ's stern rebuke.
Right.
Yep, it was not.
Why does Christ saying that in yours? Why doesn't he? Does it matter?
No,
Does it change the theology of the discussion?
no, the discussion's still the same.
It's the same.
Right?
lesson.
Still the same.
Go to Luke 22 and 19. We're going to get into better ones, but these are some minuscule ones to get you acquainted with this. Remember, this is training, right? Go to Luke 22 and 19. Read that in the ESV.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 22 and verse 19. And he took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me."
Read on.
And likewise the cup after they had eaten, saying, "This cup that is poured out for you is the new covenant in my blood. But behold, the hand of him who betrays me is with me on the table."
What was missing in your King James? He said, this blood was shed for you. Right?
Right.
This blood was shed for you. Just look and see who it is, right? Huh? Is that for you?
Yeah.
It's for you? Go get it.
Guys are ready to do.
Brothers looking around, the doorbell ring, they confound it. All right, now look. That's a small textual variant, but that does not change the theology of the conversation.
Conversation.
Christ is still there, keeping Last Supper,
Right.
breaking bread with the disciples, and giving them the figurative understanding of how to keep the Passover going forward.
Right.
A small thing like, well, it doesn't say that this blood was shed for you. Christ already taught you in other places who he came for.
Right.
It is not necessary to the theology
Right.
of the Bible, that small difference.
Right.
It's true.
And a majority of the textual variants that you see in the New Testament are small like that.
Right.
The changes and edits that you see from translation to translation are very small edits like that. But of course, there are some major ones. And these are the things I want to educate you on. Turn to John chapter 7 and 53. John 7 and 53. All right. You must learn this, okay? After John 7 and 53, you will see in your ESV, in your NIV, in your Jehovah Witness Bible, John 8 all the way through 11 is missing. In the King James, it's there. In the Byzantine tradition, John 8, 1 through 11 is there. In the Alexandrian tradition, that is not there. All right? You will see John chapter 8, and it would just say 12, and it would be going from there. They would acknowledge that verses 1 through 11 are in many traditions. However, they do not appear in the oldest manuscripts.
Right.
But does that matter? Let's examine this. Let's read John 8 and 1. Read this.
In the KJV,
Yes.
it's the book.
You
of,
have to. It's not in. It's not anywhere else.
Right.
Read.
It's the book of John, chapter 8 and verse
You
1.
could go and sin no more. You got it ready?
Kinda.
Remember, I asked you to get it ready.
I got you.
Go ahead.
Yahushua went into the mountain of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them.
Read.
And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? This they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Yahushua stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground as though he heard them not.
Now, you have not read anything yet that has theological importance.
Right.
People got caught in adultery and was supposed to be stoned. Yes, the Bible says that.
That's true.
There's nothing monumental or groundbreaking.
Right.
Okay, they're tempting Christ to see what he would say, but does the theology of the Bible change? Has it changed yet? No. Read on.
So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her.
That's a very famous line, right?
Very.
Him who is without sin cast the first stone. I do that to Jehovah Witnesses all the time. I ask them, I say, hey, he without sin cast the first stone, right? They say, yes, I agree. I say, can we read that? And then they open their Bible and they cannot find that. And they be confounded because they always saying that their Bible translation is superior. But I just try to show them that you believe in something that you don't subscribe to. As a Jehovah Witness, you believe in the Alexandrian tradition and you don't even know that. So please don't come talking to me like you're going to teach me about the Bible today.
Right.
You need one teach you, right?
Right.
That's the way I deal with them.
Right.
Read on.
Kind. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Yahushua was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst.
Come on.
When Yahushua had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee?
Read.
She said, No man, Lord. And Yahushua said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more.
Okay, now that's groundbreaking. Jesus Christ told the woman, go and sin no more. He forgave her for a sin unto death and told her to go and sin no more. Wait a minute. Is that really groundbreaking theology? Has not Christ done that in other places? So this account whether it is in your Bible or whether or not the manuscripts that you were able to unearth and find had it or not, it is inconsequential to the theology of the Bible.
Right.
Nothing was taught here that unless we have this, we do not know it. Christ came to forgive sinners. We know that. Christ came to forgive sinners of things the Mosaic law could not absolve you from. We know that. Jesus Christ gave somebody a pass and told them to go and sin no more. Jesus didn't teach like that. That would be a contradiction. Jesus didn't teach like that. But we have examples of him doing that. Can you read it?
This book of John, chapter 5, and verse 14.
Go ahead.
Afterward, Jesus findeth him in the temple and said unto him, Behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee.
So he told somebody else, go and sin no more. You're made whole. Behold, sin no more, lest it get worse for you. That's him telling another person, go and sin no more. So this is not unique. So whether or not this is in your Bible or not, it is inconsequential to the theology of the Bible. What would shock me is if there was a verse somewhere that said, you no longer came for Israel, but now, Jesus, you come for everyone. And that was only in a certain manuscript tradition. I got to look at that. We need another witness. That's why the gospel is so powerful, because you have 3 witnesses. And then you have Luke, who was taught of these traditions from Paul, a doctor of the law. Okay. These are things that matter. You can go to Italy and they'll tell you they have Paul's sarcophagus, right? Paul's sarcophagus has a hole in it, and people stick a handkerchief on a stick in there and touch the bones that are in there and believe that if they touch themselves with the handkerchief, they could be healed based on an account from Paul's life, right? So people corroborate and believe that the man Paul walked the earth. He had bad legs. He walked with a limp. He had a certain specific injury. And the Bible does say that he has a thorn in his flesh that buffets him or that he struggles with. And these things seem to corroborate the existence of the man. I'm just giving you some history, okay? Another account that is not in the Alexandria tradition is the Lord's Prayer. Watch that. Go to Matthew 6 and 9. The Lord's Prayer is there, but something is missing from it. It's important. Go to Matthew 6 and 9, right? And read that in the ESV. And we're going to read along with you in our King James, right? Go ahead.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 9. Pray then like this: Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Sakya. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors.
Come on.
And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For if you forgive others,
What's missing?
For thine is the kingdom.
And the power and glory forever.
They call that the doxology of the Lord's Prayer. They say that's missing. Does that missing change the theology of the Bible?
No.
Everybody already knows that the kingdom belongs to God, the power belongs to God, and the glory belongs to God forever. So whether or not that's there, it is inconsequential. There's nothing new being taught. You got to know this, right? Lastly, just for time's sake, Mark. If you go to the book of Mark and you go to chapter 16 in your King James, you'll see something. How many verses does the book of Mark have in the King James?
Mark 16.
Mark 16?
Yep. 20. How many does it have in the ESV?
The Bible app right here says 20.
Before it gives the footnote.
Yeah, before. 19.
Mark 16?
No, it doesn't have 19.
It doesn't have 19. Mark 16.
We just did this upstairs. I'm giving them a chance to come through. The soldiers is gray shirts for a reason.
In Mark 16, there is only 8 verses.
Okay.
So 9 through 20 is called the long ending of Mark. Here come your Muslim friend. The book of Mark you have has 20 verses, but the book of Mark he has 9 verses. They added to God's word. I can't trust that. Wait a minute. Let's examine what you call the long ending of Mark and see if anything is taught there that is groundbreaking, amazing, and it doesn't appear anywhere else in the Bible, and we have to be afraid of it?
Right.
Or is it quite reasonable that the long ending of Mark was unnecessary in certain manuscript traditions because it was already written somewhere else?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Let's go to Mark 16 and let's read verse 9.
It's the book of Mark, chapter 16.
I got the precepts? Go ahead.
16 and verse 9.
Go ahead.
Now, when Yahushua was risen early the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 devils.
Now, that if Jesus Christ never did that for Mary Magdalene, this could be a problem. You attributing something to Christ that he never did.
Yeah.
I don't know. You trying to make him more awesome than he is. You add into the word. Now I can't trust nothing you say.
Right.
Is there any other witness of Jesus Christ casting out 7 devils in the gospel?
God.
Luke 8 and 2.
Read this.
This is the book of Luke, chapter
You got to
8.
read loud.
Book of Luke, chapter 8, and verse 2.
Come on.
And certain women which had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities, Mary called Magdalene, out of whom went 7 devils.
So Luke's seen the same thing. He was taught the same thing by Paul.
That's right. Right.
That's a brother very close to the life of Jesus Christ. And he taught it to Luke, and Luke recorded it.
That's right.
And all of Luke's manuscripts appear in Alexandrian and Byzantine and Western and Caesarean traditions. So that's not amazing. So whether or not Mark 16 and 9 appears in the Bible or not, if you take it out of Mark, we still have it in the Bible.
That's right.
Do y'all see the point I'm making?
Yeah.
Read the next verse.
Verse 10. And she went and told them that had been with him as they mourned and wept.
Now, and there's a record of her going, weeping, and telling the account.
There's 3 of them.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Read on. What are we reading that does not appear elsewhere in the Bible? That's what I'm hunting for. Read on.
Right.
And they, when they had heard that he was alive and had been seen of her, believed not.
Read Matthew 28:17. This account says that people didn't believe.
Right.
Oh, well, how come no one else catalogs that? Why did the Alexandrian manuscripts leave that out? What are they trying to hide? No, listen, it's already recorded. Matthew 28:17. Read.
Book of Matthew, chapter 28, verse 17.
Go ahead.
And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted.
Is that not what Mark just said?
God.
You got Marcus, who believe that Mark is the authoritative gospel, and then you have Matthew-ists that believe that Matthew is probably the original gospel, and all the other gospels at some point must borrow from it. But guess what? Both of them say the same thing. Read on.
Luke said the same thing too.
Luke says it. Read what Luke said.
Luke chapter 24 and verse 10. It was Mary Magdalene and Joanna and Mary the mother of James and the other women that were with him, which told these things unto the apostles. And their words seemed to them as idle tales, and they believed them not.
See? So what is Mark, the long ending of Mark, changing about the Bible's theology or adding that's like amazing?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. So when people say that your manuscripts differ, do they really understand the accusation that they're making? No, because they have never done textual criticism.
Right.
But everybody on this class is getting a taste of it. Read on. Do verse 12.
Verse 12. After that, he appeared in another form unto 2 of them as they walked and went into the country.
Now this says that Jesus Christ appeared in another form to his disciples. That might be groundbreaking. Jesus Christ never did that. He was always himself. He never appeared in another form. Now they trying to make him a shapeshifter. That's idolatry. That's wicked, Wait, does the Bible say that the disciples seen Jesus Christ in another form and didn't recognize him elsewhere? Read.
John 21.
Read it and call it.
This is the book of John, chapter 21, and verse 1. After these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias.
Mhm.
And on this wise showed he himself.
Come on.
Verse 2.
I got it right here. There
were together Simon, Peter, and Thomas, called the Didymus, and Nathanael of Canaan in Galilee, and the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other of his disciples.
Read on.
Simon Peter said unto them, I go a fishing. They say unto him, we also go with thee. They went forth and entered into a ship immediately, and that night they caught nothing.
Come on.
But when the morning was now come, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples knew not that it was Jesus.
Because he took another form.
Right.
So you telling me the disciples that walk with Christ see Jesus and don't know it's him? So
Luke says the same thing.
obviously he took another form. So this is not some type of amazing new discovery that Jesus Christ appeared to his disciples in another form. Read what Luke said.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 24 and verse 13. And behold, two of them went the same day to a village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 80 furlongs. And they talked together of all these things which had happened. And it came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Yahushua himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were holden that they should not know him.
See, he was in another form. So what are we reading in the long ending of Mark that does not belong in the Bible? So whether you are a proponent of the long ending or whether or not you are a person that says, well, the older manuscripts don't have it, if you take it out, what does the Bible lack? The same accounts are already here. You see what we're doing? Read on.
Verse 13. And they went and told it unto the residue. Neither believed they them.
And he just finished saying in Matthew, in Matthew, it also says in Luke, go to Luke 24 and 11. Show that.
Yeah, I just read that.
Okay,
it's also,
that's fair enough.
But that specific one is, I think, Luke 24
And
30,
40 and 41?
24, 41?
24 and 33, you said?
That's what my Bible says.
Read it.
And they rose up the same hour and returned to Jerusalem and found the 11 gathered together and them that were with them, saying, the Lord is risen indeed and hath appeared to some. Let's get to the point.
Keep reading.
Appeared with Simon, and they told what things were done in the way and how he was known of them in the breaking of bread. And as they thus spake, Yahushua himself stood in the midst of them and saith unto them, peace be unto you. But they were terrified and affrighted and supposed that they had seen a spirit.
Same account. It's said a different way, but it means the same thing. Some doubted. They did not believe that was Christ that they saw. It is the same thing. You understand? So whether or not you have Mark 16 and 13 in your Bible, what happened in Mark 16 and 13 is recorded in other places. That's the point I'm making. Continue to read. Mark 16, 14.
Mark chapter 16 and verse 14. Afterward, he appeared unto the 11 as they sat at meat.
Now, didn't Luke just say this? Read.
As they sat at meat, and upbraided them with their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen.
And they just said that they thought they seen a ghost in a spirit. So none of this is groundbreaking, amazing, right? Continue on. 16, 15. We're almost done with this.
And he said unto them, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature.
Maybe that's new. Maybe they added that to the Bible because they wanted everybody to be a Christian, so they added that. Maybe Jesus never said go into the whole world and teach every creature. Maybe that's some type of weird addition. Or does the Bible say that? All right, show where it's at.
Matthew chapter 28 and verse 18. And Yahushua came and spake unto them, saying, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit.
Come on.
Teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always.
Did Jesus Christ just say, go and teach all nations? Is that the same thing as go and teach every creature? Now, what you adding is when he said that, go and make the heathen into Israelites. He didn't say that. No. The Israelites are scattered into all nations. Thus you must go and teach every creature, else you will not reach all of your brothers. It would be impossible. Mark 16, 16, go ahead. And my sheep hear my voice. Go Mark 16, 16, what that say?
And it reads, he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned.
Now, maybe that's a new addition. How dare the writer of Mark, the gospel attributed to Mark, add that? That's not in the oldest manuscripts. What do you mean people who believe they'll be saved, but the ones who disbelieve will be condemned? That doesn't say that anywhere else in the Bible.
It does.
Oh, see, y'all getting tired of my shtick because y'all see what I'm doing. Go ahead.
This is the book of John, chapter 3 and verse 18.
Watch this.
He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already.
Is that not what Mark 16:16 says?
Mhm.
Read on. Mark 16:17.
And it reads, and these signs shall follow them that believe.
Uh-oh, it's about to get tough now.
In my name shall they cast out devils.
Mm.
They shall speak with new tongues.
Mm.
They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover.
Mm. Surely that don't make no sense. Why does it say that there? Surely the Bible doesn't teach that idea or doctrine that they will lay hands on people and heal them, that they will survive bites of serpents. Where else does it say something like that?
The book of John, chapter 14 and verse 12.
What does that say?
Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also.
Mm.
And greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto the Father.
What's the other one we had upstairs?
So like
Y'all got this book of Luke, chapter 10, and verse
10.
18.
Read that.
It says,
My
and he
bad.
said
It's
unto
okay.
them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from
It's the
heaven.
wrong verse.
Behold,
10 and 19.
verse 19. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you.
Did Paul get bit by a serpent and survive?
God.
Did not Paul and Peter lay hands on people and heal them?
Yes.
Did not that scripture say the same thing as Mark 16:18?
God.
So if we take the long ending of Mark out of the Bible, do we lose any of these instructions or accounts? So when someone accuses Mark 16, the long ending, for being wicked as an addition in more modern manuscripts, do they really have a point? No.
No.
Read verse 19. Let's close it out.
Verse 19.
Go through 20.
So then, after the Lord had spoken unto them, he was received up into heaven and sat on the right hand of God.
Blasphemy. Ain't nobody never said that in the Bible, that Jesus Christ was received up to heaven and sat at the right hand of God. They added that in Mark to try to make Jesus better than he was. You got to worship Muhammad. Right? No, I've been dealing with Muslim scoffers all week.
Right.
Does the Bible not say that in a multitude of other places?
God.
Is there not a witness seeing Jesus raised and sitting at the right hand?
God.
Read Luke 22:69.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 22, and verse 69.
Mm-hmm.
And it reads, hereafter shall the Son of Man sit on the right hand of the power of God.
Read Luke 24:51.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 24, and verse 51. And it came to pass while he blessed them, he was parted from them and carried up into heaven, and they worshiped him, and they returned to Jerusalem.
What are we going to do now?
9:51.
Read 9:51.
And it reads, and it came to pass when the time was come that he should be received up, he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem.
Read what they saw in Acts.
God.
Read what they saw in Acts.
It's also in Ephesians.
Read it.
It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 1 and verse 20, which he wrought in Christ when he raised him from the dead and set him at his own right hand in the heavenly places.
What you got in Ephesians?
Oh, that was Ephesians.
Reading in Acts.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 1 and verse 9.
Listen good.
And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight.
So if we take the long ending of Mark out, do we lose the account of Jesus Christ ascending to be with the Father? Good. So if you scoffing, why does Mark have two different endings? What are you really complaining about? You haven't studied this. That's the point. You didn't look into this. All right, verse 20 got precepts for it too. We could do this all night. Read verse 20 just to prove the point since we hit.
And they went forth and preached everywhere, the Lord working with them and confirming the word with signs following. Amen.
Now, did not they do many signs and wonders in the Lord's name?
Mhm.
So what new doctrine was added in the long ending of Mark that makes it a heresy?
Nothing.
So now your argument comes back to it could quite have possibly been in the older manuscripts, and maybe it is lost through time. Let me see. I'm making sure I'm not going off camera because I'm reaching around. And the point I'm making is just because it doesn't appear in your Alexandrian tradition does not mean that it wasn't there from the beginning. I want to make a point when we talk about the New Testament, okay? The Byzantine manuscripts are very consistent, but mostly they was created in the 800s, right?
Yeah.
The oldest manuscripts are Alexandrian, but they differ greatly from each other, okay?
Yeah.
Let's just do that first. The Byzantine manuscripts are more modern, but they are very consistent with each other. Almost to an 80%, they say the same thing. Sometimes the copyist will write verse 10 twice and skip and leave verse 11 out in his manuscript. That counts as a textual variant. Sometimes they will write the same word twice. That counts as a textual variant. Sometimes they will make verse 11 say what verse 12 is supposed to say, and verse 12 will say what verse 11 is supposed to say. All the text is there, but the human error, that counts as a textual variant.
Yeah.
But in the Byzantine manuscript tradition, they agree at almost an 80% clip, like about 78%, right? But the Alexandrian manuscripts, okay, fine. They much older, but there's a problem. They differ greatly. There are 3,036 disagreements between Alexandrian manuscripts. So now that they're older, it was less sophisticated, more persecution. It was harder to record. I'm not pushing the manuscripts away as invalid. I wouldn't do that, right? I think there's wisdom in all the antiquarian writings. But I'm saying if you're criticizing the Byzantine tradition, you kind of stepping in a hole right there. Your majority text is more consistent and it's preserved better, right? Now, older manuscripts are on papyrus. Listen.
Damn.
Yeah, that's what I was explaining. See, Brother Malachi is seeing the visual aids that I have for y'all. Please forgive me, but it's a new computer and I would have to quit Chrome and relog back in for y'all to see these things. And I don't want to disrupt the class like that. All right. The older manuscripts are written on papyrus. That's like squished leaves and foliage, flattened and pressed,
Type of leaf.
and you write on it. So they had to use multiple pen strokes to make their characters. There's more work because it wasn't easy to write on that.
Right.
Later manuscripts are written on vellum, which is like animal skin, and then the scribes could get silly with it. They could start being more calligraphic, and they could make more circular letters because the paper was of a better quality, right? Some things y'all need to know. Some manuscripts have big blocks of spaces where there's just no text. That's called a lacuna. It means a gap in the manuscript. A manuscript with a lot of gaps is considered lacunos.
Yeah.
All right. But really what we just talking about is what's older and does that really make it better? The Byzantine manuscripts are mostly from the 800s, but we do have some from the 400s, right? And we do have some from earlier. I said that wrong. And we have attribution to some from earlier, but we don't possess the manuscript itself. How can I make that point? You have Hippolytus. He's from 170 to 236 AD. His writings all come from Byzantine manuscript tradition. So even though we do not have a Byzantine manuscript from 170 AD, we have a writer from that time using that tradition. So that means that it must have existed. We have Irenaeus from 130 to 202 AD. We got Polycarp. Everybody want to go to Polycarp. 69 AD, he's quoting Byzantine manuscript things.
Right.
He's quoting things that do not show up in Alexandrian tradition. So that means that you had the Byzantine tradition even that close, 60 AD. You got Titian, 120 to 180 AD. I hope I said his name correctly, right? And then you have a guy like Jerome. He used both for his Latin version of the Gospels. And he's from 400 AD. So he's showing you, even though you don't have a complete manuscript from that time period, Byzantine manuscripts was existing around that time. We just lost the time, right? These are things that you must understand, okay? And the reason I'm teaching that to you is so that you can be armed with something to go look into, all right? That took about an hour and some change. That was a lot of information.
Yeah.
And I do not believe in overfeeding you, right? Everything that I say, you probably got to watch this video and one at a time go and look and see if the things that I'm saying was true. And I recommend you do that, right? But what did I want to show you tonight? The great differences between Alexandrian and Byzantine manuscripts isn't great differences at all. Things that are missing do not change the theology of the Bible.
That's right.
Right? Things that was added was like phrases and words that do not change the theology of the Bible. Okay? So when people are criticizing, they're criticizing an antiquatal document, a document from antiquity. Ain't no printing press. If you want another copy of this Bible,
You gotta do it yourself.
old buddy over here gonna have to, at candlelight on a piece of parchment, copy it out. And it's gonna take months.
That's right.
Okay? And he gonna make mistakes because he got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Or
So now here comes your Muslim saying, well, why would you trust a document that's mistake? Wait a minute.
Oh, we found that in the Kings and Chronicles, by the way.
Second Chronicles.
Is it beneficial?
I mean, this is the same point that you've been making. It was just another example.
Demonstrate your scholarship. Go ahead.
You wanna read it?
Yeah, go to Second Chronicles 36 and 8.
Book of Second Chronicles, chapter 36 and verse 8. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and his abominations which he did, and that which was found in him, behold, they are written in the book.
That's not the right
verse
one.
9.
If y'all got it, read it. If not, let me just close
This
this.
is the book of Second Chronicles, chapter 36 and verse 9. Jehoiakim was 8 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 3 months and 10 days in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord.
Con, and this we actually learned this or experienced and learned how to deal with this because a Muslim brought it up while we was debating against it.
Right.
That verse says he was how old?
8 years old.
Now this is another account in 2 Kings chapter 24 and verse 8. It says Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months, and his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Elathan of Jerusalem. And they would say, see, here's a contradiction. Your one account says he was 18 years old, and the other account says that he was 8. Which one is it? At the end of the day, it's an account of Jehoiachin reigning as king in Jerusalem, and that he did what was evil. The reason it said, what you want me to go into the reason it says that? The reason it says that he's 8 and 18, the smallest letter in the Hebrew is the Yud, and it means 10. So there is a how you would say a human mistake, like the Adawan was bringing out. The person who was scribing this down, it was a mistake.
But did it change who the king was?
It doesn't change.
Did it change what the king is accused of?
No.
It just an alternate telling of his age at the time. Was his age important to what happened?
No, but we can prove in the same texts how old he was.
Right, exactly.
Go to read verse 15.
Read out.
In 2 Kings.
Okay, 2 Kings. This is book of 2 Kings, chapter 24 and verse 15. And it reads, and he carried away Jehoiachin to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his officers, and the mighty of the land. Those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon.
Now, just keeping it simple because of the sake of time, we're just going to read this. We don't have to go into any other precepts. But it's impossible for him to be 8 years old and have wives. He does not have that ability to do that.
It's illogical.
It's very illogical to have wives, multiple wives at the age of 8 years old.
And again, if a Muslim is criticizing you, he's coming from a medieval text after mass production has become easy to do. He's criticizing a text from antiquity when he would have to criticize everything written in antiquity, because all manuscripts from antiquity have these types of discrepancy.
That's right.
But we have to decide, is the discrepancy important to the doctrine? And his age being 18 in one and 8 in the other changes nothing about what he was accused of and who he was.
Right.
Therefore, the account stays the same.
That's right.
A detail is different.
That's right.
And that detail is of none effect. Right? What they're doing is they're trying to find a way to validate themselves by discrediting the Bible.
That's right.
Right? Not understanding that the Bible is an ancient work. done by human hands, and for us to possess it today is even a miracle in itself.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Sister says, would the deception of the serpent in the garden be an example of style of manuscript or theological change? All manuscripts have that account, sister. So that does not apply, right? And we can teach you what that's about in another class if you wish. But all manuscripts contain that. So that wouldn't be a difference, because even Alexandrian manuscripts have that account and it's written the same way. Man Bear Pig says, I think the point is faithful preservation and tampering with scripture, not that the ideas aren't found in other places. That's the problem. To call it a tampering is an assertion because you do not have the autograph. So you have to do something which is called deduction. Because the Bible is done by something called free transmission, not controlled transmission, free transmission. The Quran is a controlled transmission. Every Quran, whether complete or fragmentary, was destroyed by Uthman, the Caliphate. He decreed one Quran, and it was the one he said is okay. Any other one is not available to be scrutinized because he had them destroyed. That's a controlled transmission. The Bible is free transmission. It's been translated to this language, that language, this language, that language, this language for hundreds of years. So now I have the benefit of having not one scroll and saying, I got to place my faith in this. And if I'm wrong, I'll never know.
Right.
When I can say, I've got 5,800 manuscripts. 522 say this, 18 say this. This is probably correct. Or I've got 1,030 manuscripts that say this and 840 that say this, but these 1,030, none of them say that one thing the same way. And these 840 don't have that at all. It's probably this is the way to go. That's called scriptural deduction. You got to do it like that. But you can only do that because the options are there for you to read. Nobody's blocking you. Now that new Qurans have surfaced, Turkish manuscripts, some of them are in museums and you are unable to look at them. Why? Because they're afraid to handle a textual variant or to discover, wow, this surah doesn't even read close to this one. And we've been accusing the Bible of something that we're victim to. They don't even let you study it. So free transmission is much better. And that's also something you could look into on YouTube and etc. Just to say that it's been tampered with, that is, you have the burden of proof to prove the tampering, right? What we did by showing you everything in Mark 6 appears in other places is show you that nothing in Mark 6 is a new groundbreaking theological event.
Right.
So whether it's there or not is inconsequential to the theology of the Bible. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, makes sense.
So with that, I'm gonna yield and open the floor to questions. And but before that, if brothers on the stage want to say anything, please by all means, y'all got the floor.
Yeah, if I could, Joel, could you hear me?
Count out of one.
All right. First of all, praises. Excellent. That's very timely. I think that these are subjects that we as Israelites need to go into more. I think a lot of people have these questions and don't ask them. They kind of just keep it to themselves until they get confronted by a Muslim or a Christian or something of that sort, and they're confounded. So sometimes we have to kind of look ahead for the people and go into these studies whether they want them or not. Really quickly, just to land my plane really quickly, there's a period in history that brothers and sisters can look into. It's called the translation explosion, right? This took place around the mid-1900s. It's called a translation explosion, right? What you had was what was called a UBS Vatican agreement. You know what the UBS is? That's something else that you guys might want to look into. The UBS is called the United Bible Society. There was a point in time in history where all the Bible societies across all different countries, every country would have their own Bible society. France would have theirs, Spain would have theirs, right? Russia would have theirs, et cetera, et cetera. And what happened was they all unified under one umbrella, calling themselves the United Bible Society. And they got into bed with the Roman Catholic Church and had something called a UBS, which is the United Bible Society Vatican Agreement. You can find these things online, although they are hard to find. Why am I bringing that up to you? It is the Roman Catholic Church that introduced these arguments through their Copenhagen school that they control also in other schools. It was the Roman Catholic Church that brings up these arguments about the textual variants and the variant readings and makes it into a doctrine to plant the seed of doubt in the minds of the people about the authenticity of the Bible, because you have variant readings depending on what manuscript that you're reading from. It was not the translators of the KJV or other manuscripts that did that, but it was the Roman Catholic Church through their disciples in the Copenhagen school and others that introduced this argument after they made their agreement with the Roman Catholic Church. And what they did was they said that the manuscripts that they chose to use, which are these older manuscripts, that these manuscripts are superior. It is them that started this argument. So I think it's very important that Joel did this lesson, brothers and sisters. At the end of the day, really the doctrine remains the same. So again, excellent class. Y'all all praise the Most High. You.
The water, Adawan. Thank you. Thank you for that information. I'm about to look into it. Any other brothers on the stage want to build? Okay, Con. The floor is open for questions right now. Okay, sister, I understand. She said that's not really what she was asking about Genesis. She was saying in verse 2:17 of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 17, there's a reiteration of a different style in chapter 3, 1 through 3. Well, again, that's what's actually there in both manuscript traditions. So it doesn't even come down to style. That's just what has been recorded. And textual criticism of the Old Testament is a completely different monster, right? But I appreciate that question. And now I'm going to be set the task to make a lesson on that. All right. I don't see too many questions. I think people have a lot to study and decipher. Going once for any questions in the chat or on the call. Going twice. Going 3 times. Excellent. So now brothers can get back to the smoke. And when I say smoke, I mean beef on the app. Don't get simple.
Right.
Because on this Clubhouse app, our warriors have been going at it for hours. All right. Listen, Christianity, you are not going to teach us anymore.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know what you talking about.
You're fired.
Right.
You're fired. You're fired.
Right.
That's how Vince McMahon used to do it. You're
Fired.
fired.
Y'all are not qualified to teach the scriptures, and you don't care what the scriptures actually say. And we finding that out in these last days. And we getting on a higher and higher level because the Most High is building us up in this truth, man. So I want to thank everybody that watched the lesson tonight. I enjoyed teaching it, and I'm gonna get better at teaching this because when I teach myself. And I got many questions for Priest Daniela behind the scenes and all my elders because I'm always wanting to learn, man. So y'all also keep your minds open and continue to learn, man. All right. If you want to get the prayers, we're about to pray on the conference call. All you got to do is call the number at the bottom so you can get the Sabbath prayer. We're not going to pray online and we're not going to pray on the Clubhouse, but you're welcome to join us via the conference call. We're going to send up the prayers in Hebrew. Bless the nation and close it out and continue on with the Shabbat. Once again, thank to all the panel and everybody that came up to speak. Thank you again for your wisdom, Priest Daniela. Peace and safety to the elect in the 4 corners of the earth. Shalom.
Shalom.
All right. Call into the number at the bottom if you want to get the prayers. And for Esau and the other nations, hey, you're not only are you being surpassed, you about to be brought into subjection because we never liked you. Come here, Shalom.